So good day, Universe 2024. So today we have this session. You're joining session AI 14858D. So from hype to productivity, Copilot Matrix that matters. So my name is Chiu, a senior DevOps architect, and this is Mickey Gousset. So you know who he is, right? He's Elvis. No, he's Staff DevOps Architect. So we are from the customer success strategy team from GitHub. We work with customer on a daily basis to solve their complex problem. So today we'll be doing some demo. But first of all, we want to get a few things right. So in this session, we want you to have 3 takeaways. So this session is all about numbers. No, it's all about insight. Number 1, we want you to have insight, productivity insight from Copilot platform. Number 2, we want you to have insight from Copilot Matrix. And number 3, we want to suggest something, have a suggestion for you to how to survey your developers without them feeling fatigue. You know, every time when you purchase something, they say, can you fill a survey for me? I don't know about you, but I start to delete them a lot. So let me get you to paint a picture why we have this session. So I want to tell you a story. So one day I went to my boss. So I say, boss, can you approve the expense for this GitHub Copilot subscription? I need it for the whole engineering team. Remember how we start to modernize our engineering practice and 10x our effort? Boss, what is this, Kitty? Another subscription service? I'm fully supportive of your initiative, but I'm not sure if I want to buy another tool. Me. A few of us have been using it. It's been amazing. My developer says that it helps them to handle the boring stuff so they can focus on cutting code. My boss say, it's nice that your developer like it, but what does it mean to my business? What does it mean to my organization? I don't want another expense creeping into my sunk cost. So how many of you can resonate that? Yeah, okay, got it. So your boss probably say, can you show me the value of why should I approve this course? Show me the value, what does it mean to my business? It's because I need to talk to the finance about it, to make a case with the finance. So do you have the numbers to help me? So today, this is the reason why we have this session. We want to impress your why, beyond just say, oh, it's a cool, shiny new toy. We want you to go beyond the purpose of the AI hypes, because there's a lot of it today. We want you to know exactly what you're measuring. And Mickey's going to help you to do that. And we will show you how to do it. Offer you a few suggestions of how to do it. So we need to show numbers to our boss, but we can't just say that we're having fun. So what sort of numbers do we get to our boss, to our finance? So one thing you need to remember, you're modernizing your engineering systems. You are actually building a competitive edge for your business. So you're constantly building competency around these 3 things, which you may be already familiar with people, process, and technology. People is about all things related to people working in your organization, whether including contractors or whether it's your in-house team. These include the cultural and social norms. So you're investing in your Gen AI tool because you want to increase the productivity of your developers. You're constantly thinking about that. Do they have the right tool? Do they have the right skill set? Are they adequately communicated? Do they have the right proper feedback loop? And do they have the space, the mental space to think, to create, and to cut code? Because that's what they hire for. So process is the orchestration activity to achieve a goal. And you, as a leader, are constantly challenging status quo. And you are constantly trying to remove the red tape. So there's a favorite book that I really like, and a quote that I really like. It's from James Clear in Atomic Habit. It says that you do not rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. So who have heard of that? Yep, it makes sense, right? So in order to realize the Gen AI tool, investment you're making, your system need to be constantly evolving, adapting to the new way of working. That means your system. So technology refers to a range of tools that enable productivity. Your investment in Copilot is not only to increase individual productivity, but you are actually ultimately increasing your system efficiency. So what is your utopia? Ship faster and less rework. Because, yeah. So you're investing in Copilot for your engineering system. So that's why you're here today. Okay, so I want to ask a raise of hand, how many of you have a baseline of your engineering system, like in terms of measuring your engineering system? Yes? Not many of you, actually. Maybe 5%?
5 or 6.
5 or 6%? Okay. So you probably have, how many of you actually heard your non-technical leaders is asking for showing you some kind of value from your engineering system you're doing every day? A lot, maybe a lot more. So apart from you need to show some kind of numbers, some kind of value to your bosses, you can't manage what you don't measure. So you need to if you have not already started, you need to start measuring now and have some kind of baseline. And I'm assuming that every one of you today is a GitHub user, and you actually have some kind of control and management over your platform. So I want to let you know that you do have those metrics and those status productive insight in your platform right now. And later, Mickey will show you, to demo to you how to do that. So start baseline with what you have, but don't forget, remember what I showed you. You need to have a holistic set of signals that's from people, process, and technology. So these are, so your engineering system may have performance signals from maybe these four dimensions, and many more. And I've come across a lot of organizations that they do have some kind of engineering excellence already existing in your organization. So if you already have them, consider to see how you can build on top of that. So here, these 4 dimensions, just explain a little bit more. So high quality is both a delight to developer and business. The developer is achievement to write quality code, right? The business is to avoid the cost of delay and rework, and also is ability to adapt to the market dynamic. Now I'm talking about business market dynamic. So what does high quality code look like? It is, first of all, you can read it. It is reusable. It is maintainable. It is concise. It is resilient, and it is secure. So these are the quality attributes that we as developers do write into our code. And developer happiness is about how satisfied are your developers today with the tasks. Can they focus? Do they feel challenged every day? Because boring job means it's not that happy. Are they engaged? How is their mental energy? When we work from home, most of us, I don't know about you, but I am pretty overwhelmed most of the time. But what about your developers? Velocity. Velocity is not just about speed in a single point in time, but velocity is in engineering systems is about your delivery throughput. So analogy of that is, what is your pace? Also, what is the friction and waste in your value stream? And where are the delays? And is there any manual validation you need to do in order to make a decisions? So, and in all of this, we don't only want to build the things right, but we also want to build the right things. You want to ensure your modernizing work and effort are enabling and also accelerating your engineering system success. So altogether, it should make a positive business impact and also make a positive return on your investments. So these are all the considerations you should consider when you are defining your why. So pass on.
All right. So we have these different performance signals that we care about here, right? But what I wanted to kind of mention to y'all for a little bit, and then we're going to have some fun, do a couple of demos because we can, is Kitty and I work with customers on a daily basis, helping them to adopt, utilize Copilot throughout their environments. And these are really kind of the 4 phases that you're going to really go through when you're trying to bring Copilot into your environment. The first one is the adoption phase, right? That's basically, Kitty, you're wanting money.
I want money.
To buy this subscription.
Yes, my whole team.
All right, so I'm going to give you some money, and you're going to buy it. Now I want to make sure you're actually using the darn thing. So I want to see, are people actually using Copilot?
He's the CFO.
Exactly. So that's the first thing. I want to make sure, I want to be able to see, do we have users actually using the product? Well, for that, we have an API. So there's 2 APIs for Copilot. One lets you manage the licenses. The other lets you see usage information. So there's basic usage information that I can see just to see how many people used Copilot every day. That's there. That's great. That gets me started. But then, okay, I'm seeing people using it, so you spent my money. People are using it. But now I want to know, how are they using it? Are they adopting all the different features that are there? Are they making use of things like Copilot Chat? Are they making use of things like, Copilot pull requests? So that all of that kind of, all the different things that have Copilot attached to them. Again, though, we can pull that from the API. So we can pull from the API information such as, how many chat suggestions were made and how many were accepted, or how many auto-completion were made and how many were accepted. We can break this, and from that we can calculate acceptance rate. Because that's a metric that you really would care about, which is how many times did we ask questions versus how many did we actually use, right? High acceptance rate, Copilot's given us lots of good answers. Low acceptance rate, we're not accepting it for some reason. Now, in my experience, about a 30% acceptance rate is really good right now. And I saw somebody frown out there. But the reason being, though, is when I see people with lower, and I've seen higher acceptance rates, but when I see people with low acceptance rates, it usually falls into they haven't really been shown the best ways to use Copilot. There's multiple ways when you're using Copilot and say VS Code to ask questions, and there's multiple ways to make it smarter in how it returns those answers. So when you see a lower acceptance rate like that, again, which we can all pull from the API, as well as things like the languages we're asking questions against, the IDEs that people are using when they're asking these questions. But when you see that lower acceptance rate, it ties back into usually the developers need some sort of training or guidance in asking better questions. All right, Kitty, so we've got the adoption and the activity phases. And you were going to ask me how long these phases last. Could be weeks, could be months. It depends. You can't rush this thing, in my opinion. But then we start seeing the questions now start switching from, how many people are using chat and acceptance, Kitty, to, are the developers happy using the tool? Are they satisfied? Do they feel like the tool's helping them get in a flow state? Do they feel like the tool is actually helping them solve their problems better? Right? Ties more into the developer experience. Mm-hmm. I don't have an API for that. Mm-hmm. It'd be nice if I did, but I don't have an API for that. And the best solution there is surveys. All right? And I'm going to talk to you. I've got a couple of examples of surveys that I want to show you. I am going to tell you the shorter the survey, the better. Because you're more likely to fill out a 4-question survey than a 20-question survey, aren't you?
That's right. I'm just making one purchase. I don't want to fill out 20 questions.
Okay, fair enough. And then finally, there's the holy grail that people want, which is the downstream impact. Are we actually seeing this, are we actually building software better? Are we actually building software faster? And, there's lots of different metrics out there that people consider and use when calculating this. Some of these metrics we can calculate using the GitHub API. Some of them we may have to also, or you may have to also pull from other systems, right? If you're trying to track a work item from its inception all the way to the commit that it's tied to, all the way to when that goes into production, you're needing to potentially tie into multiple systems at that point. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm going to give you but there are some things from GitHub specifically you could potentially pull, right? Like you could be watching average merge request frequency, pull request merge frequency. Is that going down? And can we tie that back to we're doing maybe shorter, smaller commits because Copilot's giving us better answers and we're moving things faster? So these are the phases that we see working with customers. This is, this is what I do, helping customers to adopt Copilot. But again, you can't rush it because most people are like, okay, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, now we've got our downstream impact on week 4, right? No, that's not how it works. You got to kind of take your time.
Just want to know, you are actually changing people's behavior. You're not changing a machine. Okay, so people's behavior matters. So it's month, like what Mickey says, it's month, not days, not hours.
All right, so let's have some fun just because we can, right? So first phase is being able to pull some information back from the actual API, right? It's all in the documentation. You can all see, but essentially I love using the Copilot or GitHub CLI. If you've not used the GitHub CLI before, it's a great way for interacting with GitHub and especially making API calls because it encapsulates a lot of the authentication stuff for you. But essentially all I'm doing is calling Copilot usage against my organization, which is called DevOps Elvis. And I'm just going to return that back and put that into, a JSON file. Because it's just a bunch of JSON file. Now this returns the last 28 days of information. All right, it's a rolling 28 days. So if you're wanting to capture this long term for reporting, you're going to need to call it and go store it off in a data lake somewhere, or do whatever you want to do with it. But you can see, Kitty, this is a whole bunch of data. Look at that. It's kind of ugly, right?
Hey, but I have data. That's nice.
You have data, right? I mean, you could come in here and
I'm going to do a search.
Make it a little bit prettier. And if you come in here and start making it a little bit prettier, you can see. Let me scroll back up to the top here for us. We got things like, in this case, and this is my test org, but we've got things like total suggestion count, total acceptance count, which lets me calculate that acceptance rate, which everybody likes. But we also see total lines suggested. We see active users, so we see if people are using it. We can see a breakdown by language. I do a lot of shell scripting, so I've been asking a whole lot of shell scripts, especially in VS Code. Apparently I did some TypeScript as well. So there's a lot of good information here. But there's, several thousand lines of information here. So Kitty, wouldn't it be nice if I had a way to actually view this information?
It'd be nice than scrolling, yes.
Because managers like pretty pictures, don't they? Yes, they do. So I wanted to show you a little dashboard that has been kind of put together by some people at GitHub that, if I remember correctly, is going to be open source relatively soon, right?
Yes, that's right.
Which is a little Power BI dashboard that they've created to take this same Copilot data, right? So all you're doing is pointing this at that API and pulling it back. And it's just a dashboard they put together to do some visualization, which gives you a slightly more nicer look at, say, the number of engaged users that we have, or the number of suggestions that have been made, and then the green line shows you the number of lines that were actually accepted. I kind of like this one. This shows you acceptance by different languages that people are using, or different IDEs that people are using. So you get an understanding, gives you a better understanding of what's going on in your environment itself. Acceptance rate, which apparently we had a great acceptance rate, but I need to do some talking because it's going down over time. Probably need to figure out why that's happening.
You talk too much.
I do talk too much. That is incredibly true. I mean, we can see, like, from GitHub chat perspective, the number of engaged users that we have. And even for people that are using Copilot with pull requests, the number of active users that are making use of Copilot and pull requests. And as we add other Copilot features, we will add information probably to the API so we can more drill down into that data as well. So we've got all this data. Data's great. I got my visualization. But now I need to see how, if my developers are happy using this tool. Is it solving their problem? That's where surveys come into the picture. Now, lots of options for surveys, right? I mean, there's third-party survey engines you can use. You could just send your developers an email and say, hey, how's things going? But in case you do want something that's a little more open source, we have developed just a little free project called the Copilot Survey Engine. So if you just go do a search for Copilot Survey Engine, you'll find it. And what this does, you've got to set it up with a database backend. It uses a GitHub app. And what it does is, every time a pull request is closed, it simply opens an issue with 4 questions. Because the best time to survey the developers on whether Copilot actually helped them with what they were trying to do is right when they're done using it to solve the problem they're trying to do. So we just asked 4 questions, like, did Copilot help you with this? How are you feeling about it? Do you feel like it saved you time? What did you do with the Copilot time savings? And you can change these questions, right? This is just what we give you. But it's 4 questions. Now, if you go and start looking at some of our learning paths and whatnot, you're also going to see, we also give you another example of a Copilot developer survey. And this developer survey is 10 questions with a lot more detail in it. Which one's right, Kitty?
Basically, it's what your need is. You need to understand your user, what they're frustrated about, and then decide which questions you want.
But either of them are right. But as we mentioned earlier, less questions is better, at least initially, till you get your developers on board and used to answering these questions. Seriously, that is what we've seen helps people as far as making sure they do this, because you want to get good data here so that you can tell that Copilot is helping solve the problems. And then there's the Holy Grail. There's the whole downstream metrics portion. Now, I don't necessarily have a super incredibly complicated demo for the downstream metrics portion, because as I mentioned, that can require pulling into multiple systems. But with GitHub and the GitHub API, I can tell some things, right? So Kitty actually used Copilot to write a quick little shell script to go out and tell me, to give me the deployment frequency for all of my repositories at a given time. So, I can easily just come in here, and this is really not too exciting data, but,
By the way, I used Copilot to write this.
He did. She completely used Copilot to write this. But it's just going to come back and give us some, just goes back and tells me how many deployments, in this case, in the last 180 days that I've done. Not very many for most of these. But it'll come back in a second and tell me, like, for this one I did 6 and such. But the point with all of this is not that, wow, I wrote a really awesome shell script and look at this data. The point is we've got some of the data inside of GitHub to help you with some of the metrics that you may care about, such as deployment frequency, such as faster merge rates. But to calculate all of those downstream metrics may require you also pulling from other systems as well. And there's lots of information there's information out there that you can find about how people are calculating different downstream metrics. So, with all of that, let's see if we can pull the PowerPoint back up and talk about a couple of more things, because we can. Now, this is the fun part where I should have had a joke for a second.
Okay, got it.
Because, it takes flash, flash, flash. There we go. So, when I talk about metrics that matter, I'm talking about these phases and the different metrics that apply in those phases. I'm going to give it back to you. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right.
So we're going to do some wrap up. Just probably want to recall what we have presented to you today. So first of all, we have presented to you why. Why do you measure? We want you to go beyond the hype. We want you to actually, we hope that we have enabled to you on measuring your why. Why do you invest in Gen AI tool in the first place for your engineering system? Is for you, hopefully you're impressed that you are making an investment in your engineering system. You're building a competitive edge for your business. So this is the value that you are giving back to your company. We've told you that you need to start measuring now if you have not already measured. And constantly consider to define the signals from your existing engineering excellence matrix that you might already have, or you can consider the 4 dimensions that we have showed to you today. Third, we have demoed to you how to measure from the first-party GitHub platform and also the Metrics API. We also talk about the importance, if you want to also calculate or show value of the downstream impact to your business, consider that you need to integrate the third-party system telemetry that you have in other tools to have a holistic view of the value of your AI investment. So we want to, first of all, the demo that you see, the dashboard you see, we want to call a special shout out to Io and Stefan from customer success team who has built and also will be open source the dashboard to you. So do take note of the short link over there, because we will be posting the Copilot generated script onto there.
We'll post there, and when the dashboard does actually come out finally, we'll post a link up in there as well.
Yes.
Also happy to answer discussions and questions in there. It's all at our GitHub community site.
Yep. So it's not just a presentation here today, but do hopefully that there's a continued discussion over there as well. Measuring value is a very subjective, opinionated matter. So hopefully your questions, your comments will actually help each other to define the right matrix, right numbers to define what value means to you. So lastly, I want to thank everyone for joining today, both here and online as well. We want to hear from you how we did, and this is a QR code. So it should take less than 5 minutes. As Mickey said, the best time to view our survey is now. So yeah, you can help us to improve how we can help your next universe experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much.